Hey, if you're an avid angler, it's a good bet that there's a body of water that you heard about that you always dreamed about going to. Well, Dan Lindner and I are about to check one of them off of my bucket list. Now I'm going to give you a hint. We're going to be fishing for one of my favorite fish.
One of Al's favorite fish. Guess what that is? The Smallie. And we are hunting them in the land of giants, Northwest Ontario. This part of the world grows some of the biggest fish on the planet. You want to see jumbo crappies? Well, that can be done. How about 7-pound largemouth? Well, they got them too. Some of the hottest musky action is found in this part of the world, not to mention some real giants. What else can be found up here? Oh, magnum walleye, monster lake trout, and let's not forget huge northern pike. This is just a sample of some of the trophies that are waiting. Today we are staying at Crystal Beach Resort in the Atikokan region, and we will be targeting smallmouth on Marmion Lake. Now Jody, the camp owner, fell in love with this area and decided to bag his day job in favor of making his and others' dreams come true.
Yeah, the turning point for me in the construction industry is one day I was working on Highway 2 in northern Wisconsin, and a big recreational vehicle drove through with a big, nice boat behind it, and they're on their summer-long vacation. And I just decided after 20 years to change it up a little bit and try to enjoy the next 20 years of my life. We looked at resorts around Wisconsin, Minnesota, but we were more into the strictly fishing setting, and that's why we decided to pursue a camp here in Canada. The north section of Marmion Lake is like a whole different system from the southern half of the lake. It's the Seine River is what runs through the north half of it. It's a big river system that runs on down into Rainy Lake, and it's the north half is typically more of a walleye fishery. Both ends are heavily Cisco based or Tulabee. There's a lot of bait fish forage for the fish in both ends, but it's darker tannic water, and the densities of the bass just isn't as much on the north end as the south half. I think growth rates are probably higher. They're river fish more so than lake fish. And they relate a lot to structure through the summer months, and without the high populations there, I think they just grow faster and probably to a larger size. It's a lot less pressure as far as fishing pressure. It gets minimal pressure throughout the season on the north half, whereas the lower end of Marmion gets a lot more fishing pressure. For big fish, the north end is the spot to go. The south half, you'll get a lot of 3-pounders in that range. There's going to be more and more 4 and 5s, but the top half of Marmion Lake, which we call the floodwaters, typically, that's where the biggest fish in the whole lake are living right now.
Got him. Nice one. Nice one.
What do you got him on?
It ain't a giant, but it ain't
Oh yeah.
bad. Oh yeah.
That's nice.
There's another one with it. Another one with it.
Okay.
I won't bother with. There's 2 more with it.
Is there? All right.
Yeah.
Just keep him.
You want me to keep him down there?
Well, you can.
Okay, see if you can catch him. He just spit that craw.
You can get him in.
Get him in?
Yeah.
All right. That's a pretty nice fish, man.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was saying.
Wow.
What'd you get him on?
Very nice swim jig. First cast with a swim jig.
I'm impressed.
Oh, here, baby.
Whoop, double header out.
You got it.
Yep.
Well, he gets his in. I'll get this baby off the hook. This lake is beginning to look like everything I had heard it was supposed to be. You know, over the years, Dan and I and our family have fished a lot of tournaments up in Northwest Ontario. For years, we fished the Canadian Bass Invitational up in Kenora. And then a lot of years, we fished the CBC, the Canadian Bass Championship on Rainy Lake. And it's at those locations that I was talking to a lot of the fishermen, and they said, you got to come over to Atikokan and fish the Atikokan Bass Classic. You won't believe how good the fishing is. Now, we've been on a lot of lakes fishing smallmouth all over Northwest Ontario. And for what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing in a short period of time, I guarantee you we're going to be back on this baby.
Y'all got that one on a swim jig, and I immediately picked up my other rod. We've got several rods rigged, which you have to when you're coming up here finding fish. You know, we're using search bait tactics, a lot of horizontal baits moving fast. So
nibbled on a grub, swimming it. But boy, yeah, so far so good. We'll get her back in the water. Here she goes.
You know, when I first heard about that Atacocan Bass Classic, I said, well, I know how to get a pretty good read, you know, of what to expect on a trip up here by the weights. You look at the top 10, 15 weights, and if there's some depth on it, it gives you a good idea. Was I surprised? Just look at some of these tournament wins. Now, this is a 2-day event.
Like Al said, to get a good read on a body of water's potential, it's pretty simple. Take a look at the tournament weights over the past 3 or 4 years. So we did some research. Check this out. These are the results from the Atacocan Bass Classic from the past 4 tournaments they had posted online. Keep in mind, it's a 2-day total of 5 fish limits, so 10 fish combined weight. In 2010, the top weight was over 38 pounds. That's almost a 4-pound average per fish. Not bad, right? In 2011, the top weight was over 42 pounds. That's over a 4-pound average. In 2012, the winner had over 40 pounds of smallies, just another 4-pound average per fish. In 2013, it took over a 38-pound limit to win the tournament. Any way you slice it, you need a 4-pound limit in this tournament to be a player. Those are pretty big numbers.
Wow.
Dan, I think we got to come fish this tournament.
This may be a waypointer.
Man, oh man.
Wow, look at them.
Look at it, go.
They don't stop.
I don't know if that was a Cisco. It looked like a Cisco that she spit. Holy smokes. Holy mackerel, are they tough, man. Wow. You know, there's a rule of thumb that you could kind of keep in mind if you're coming up to Northwest Ontario for the first time and you're looking for lakes that have big numbers of big smallmouth. Well, like this, the rule of thumb is pretty simple. The bigger the water, the bigger the fish, and there's more of them. You get in these smaller lakes, a lot of the smaller lakes, you can have 100, 150 fish days, but you know, a 4-pound fish is rare. In these big lakes, especially if they've got tulipy or smelt in them, that's where these giants are. That's where they are. There's so many smallmouth bass all over Northwest Ontario. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I can't document this, I can't say it's a fact, but I believe there is more smallmouth bass, not necessarily more big ones like the Great Lakes has, but more smallmouth bass in all of the lakes spread across Northwest Ontario than possibly anywhere else in the United States combined. Oh, I'm gonna hear a lot of feedback on that, but I believe that anyway.
Marmion Lake is no little body of water. This thing is huge, or at least it fishes huge. What I mean by that is there is so much good-looking water, you have to have a game plan, otherwise you'll never leave one bay. Well, we know that the biggest fish in the system are up in the north end, so that's where we are going to start. There are 3 primary types of cover up there: standing timber, weed beds, and classic broken rock. What we do in a case like this is sample all 3 and start putting a pattern together. There are massive fields of standing trees. We fished a ton of it and never got a bite. We found beautiful weed beds. They were full of pike and walleyes. Where we ended up finding the majority of the smallmouth was on broken rock shorelines in a depth of 6 to 8 foot. This was classic looking smallmouth water. In any Canadian lake, if you can find current, it's a good thing. So look for neck downs between islands that force water flow. Another thing to be aware of, smallmouth often focus on pelagic bait fish like tulipy. So while you're casting to shore, these fish might be behind you, suspended over 20 to 30 foot of water. The big thing is to be flexible and try lots of different spots, keeping your eyes open to what works and then replicating it.
The one thing that's nice about these Canadian fish are like solar powered, man. They are just tougher than bulls. Look at that guy. Right on the front face of that thing. this guy in here on famed orange crush. Oop. And a belly snag him. Okay. Easy does it, boy. He's got that thing harmonica'd in his beak. They're very gentle. See how that thing is in there? Good. Just tons of these. I don't even know how many fish you catch in a day. You catch 100 fish, easy. Tons of fish like this, and there's so much fun. Fish like this, they just pull like a Mack truck. We'll put her back. Yeah, you can catch like 100 fish days are common, and you know, we fished a lot of tournaments up here, and some of the best smallie fishing I've ever seen in my entire life have been up in Northwest Ontario. My dad and I would come up here and pre-fish for tournaments, and this is no lie, between 5 fish, I've caught 20 pounds in 15 minutes. And that's, you know, do the math on that, that's 5 4-pounders in 15 minutes. I mean, it's just, you're sitting there going, what in the world is this all about? It's like heaven for smallmouth fishermen.
You know, those fish are on a little bit of a lip there, Dan?
Yep. There he is. Oh, good one. Oh, he comes. Coming up.
Big one.
Coming up. I told you I was gonna get one here, Al. It just looked too right. It looked too right.
A lot better than that last fish.
Yep. Oh.
That's a mule.
Boy, that's so much fun. Look at that. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's a money fish.
Oh yeah, he's just getting rid.
Oh my God.
Yep. Yeah. Look at that, dude. Yep. You gotta love that bite. It's so much fun. One thing about, boy, you just gotta let these fish almost play themselves out a little bit, boy, because you don't want them getting up at boat side with those treble hooks in your hand. We'll get this guy in the water.
That's a big fish, Dan.
Oh yeah, yeah, this is a nice one. This is a good one, Al. Whoop. They just don't quit, man. They don't quit. Oh.
Big fish.
Yeah, we got to think about a tournament next year on this lake, that's for sure. Al and I are pre-fishing for a tournament next year. Maybe. Al and I are going to be new partners. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
You keep putting them in a boat like that, and you got me for
Look
a
at this
partner. I'll tell you what, you win with that. You win with those.
Oh man.
That's a 4 1/4.
Oh
4
my
1/2.
gosh.
Maybe
Look at
bigger.
that thing. Boy, that's heavy, man. That is
That could
heavy
be a
fish.
5-pounder.
You know, some fish weigh real heavy, like they're thick boned. That's one of them, boy. That's the fish you want. Holy cow. What a pretty fish too, huh? Look at that thing. We'll get her back in the water. There you go, girl. Bye-bye. Yeah, you can almost call those spots sometimes with those fish. You know, before you're planning a trip up to some of these remote lakes, they can be kind of intimidating, but you know, with some of Hummingbird's advanced technology, you can do a lot of pre-fishing before you even leave your house.
You know what? It blows me away that electronic companies like Humminbird and Minn Kota keep on coming up with new stuff for anglers every year. I'm not joking. Just when you think you've seen it all, they show up with a new twist that makes fishing more fun, exciting, and useful. The first thing I want to show you is something Humminbird calls Smart Strike. This is only available on the Onyx or Ion system. Here's how it works in a nutshell. First, you got to purchase an SD card for the lake or region you'll be fishing. Then you plug this card into your unit. Then you select from a number of search criteria to find out some likely spots to start fishing. You can highlight the species you're after, the lake region, the time of the year, and many other search parameters. Then hit Execute Search, and it highlights high percentage areas to start fishing. It's like having your own personal guide in the boat. And you can do all of this search info before you even leave on your trip. If the lake you're going to is not charted, here is something else offered by Humminbird. It's called Auto Chart Live. This is so cool. Some of your favorite lakes, I bet, do not have an accurate map of the contours. What if I said you can make your own map as accurate as a Lake Master chip in real time? Well, that's what this does. No more guessing what this structure looks like or dropping markers because you think the point sticks out that way.
I think we're done.
You make your own personal map of the lake that was previously uncharted. Now, Jody is a lifelong Humminbird man, and when we showed him the auto chart system, he couldn't wait to get his hands on it. He has plans for mapping Marmion Lake, and I can guarantee he will have a distinct advantage in upcoming tournaments.
You know, speaking of electronics, Al's got that Onyx system on his boat, and it's so nice when you're fishing up here in this water. It's kind of uncharted, and the way we've got it set up with side imaging on both sides, it comes around a point, and sometimes there's satellite points that are sitting right out here, satellite rocks. And look at that unit right there. See, look at out here. Al's fishing shoreline over here, and there's a bunch of satellite rocks out here to the left, so I'll just bomb casts out that way, see if there's any remnant fish out there. Oh, doozy dog. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Boy, it came out like a ton of bricks, man. Nice. Very nice. Boy, nothing beats it when they just stop. They just stop you right in your tracks. Whoop, whoop. Hot potato, hot potato. Here. Whoa. Easy, Thunder. Crunched it. Crunched it. He's getting me all wet. That's all right, I don't mind. Whoop, oh, it's popped out. But he did smash that bait. And that bait, the Rapala X-Rap, is probably what I would say is the finest smallmouth bass search lure on the planet. I mean, this bait, you put it on, you cast it out, and it just attracts fish. You'll see them, they'll hit it. So it's one of the best search tools out there for smallmouth, and big ones too.
Speaking of search tools, you know, we're up here for 3 days, and we've never been up here. The water is big. There's a lot of water up here. So we wanted to take a look at a lot of it, and we got to fish it really fast. So we're fishing aggressively. We're throwing moving baits in all cases. That X-Rap, like Dan said, it can't be beat. If there's a fish in 15 feet of water or up, that thing is incredible. We're throwing a lot of other search baits too, baits that you could cover water fast. What we're doing is just looking at the lake, trying to figure out a pattern. We don't have a single vertical bait on. Now tomorrow will be a different story. We've seen some areas we're gonna come back through. We'll start throwing some drop shots, some tubes. You know, wacky worm will slow down a little bit where we found some fish and we know the structures are right. But when we first get on a lake we've never been on before like this in Canada on these smallmouth, we put on search baits and just cover water.
Lures, lures, lures. Thousands to pick from, millions of color combos. How does a guy or gal start? Well, like we said, we've never been on this lake before. So our rules of engagement are to move fast with horizontal baits looking for active biters. This does a couple of things. We get to see a lot of the lake quick, and we're not trying to force bites. We want the dumb ones fast. Then the next day, we may return to some spots and slow down. Anyways, here's a few lure choices for covering water quick, and Smallies always love them, no matter what time of the year. Number 1, my favorite, and quite possibly the best lure ever developed for smallmouth, the X-Rap. We have said it before, and we'll say it again. You never, ever, ever go out fishing for Smallies without one of these on. There have been several million X-Raps sold, and what does that tell you? They just work. The newest jerkbait on the block is the Shadow Rap. This lure has a totally unique action. You can darn near fish it in place or work it extremely fast like a traditional jerkbait. It has a slow sink to perfectly imitate a dying bait fish. And like all jerkbaits, works all year long, depending on your presentation. Number 2, the old standby, a Terminator T1 spinnerbait with a willow leaf blade. This is another bait that always puts fish in the boat, and it's so simple to fish. The one thing I like about a spinnerbait bite is the strike. It is so rewarding watching those smallies blast out of cover and crush these lures. There is no finesse, just attack mode. Number 3, here is another no-brainer lure that always gets bites. It's the Terminator swim jig, rigged with either a grub, a craw, or a boot tail. Big bite baits make a ton of beautiful trailers for this lure. Each trailer has its own unique added action to the jig. The craw just flaps its little arms. The grub is very subtle, and the boot tail makes this jig kind of roll back and forth. You definitely need all 3 styles of soft baits. This baby is bulletproof. You can fish it around any shallow cover without getting hung up. Plus, you can cast it out a little bit deeper and slow roll it back with equal effectiveness. Number 4, what about a topwater? Well, of course we got one on at all times. The skidder prop has got to be one of the best search tools out. A lure skittering across the surface has a large zone of awareness, and you can call fish from great distances to show themselves. This lure is often overlooked as a search bait, but let me tell you, you can cover some serious water with this baby. Number 5, last but not least, is a VMC drop-dead weighted hook, rigged with a big bite cane thumper. I love this bait. It looks so good in the water, fish have to eat it. Here, take a look. It just throbs in the water. This thing is as effective for largemouth as it is for smallmouth, so we pretty much have one on at all times.
I'm jealous.
You're jealous, huh?
I'm very jealous.
Huh? I'm loving this, Dano.
Holy
Man, they talk
cow.
about the average
Holy
fish. When you get these big fish, I could see why they're getting them big bags of fish. Wow. The average fish is just incredible. How's that one, baby?
Wow.
That one way nice. Ooh. Ooh. A lot of really nice fish in here, man. Quite incredible. You know, when you're planning a trip for the smallmouth up here in Northwest Ontario, and particularly if you've never been here before, we talked a little bit about the lures, the family of lures you want. But as far as rod and reel go, the minimum, if you can make it happen, you'd want 2 bait casting rods and 2 spinning rods. Your spinning rods are to cover the finesse bite. Your bait casting rods are to cover your more aggressive bites with the bigger moving baits. So, I mean, it's really simple. Yeah, you know, something like a medium heavy on your bait casting, you're powering some big fish here. If you're throwing spinner baits or big jerk baits, something like that. And on your spinning rods, if you're finessing, you know, you'll be drop shotting or grubbing or tubing with 8-pound test line, something like that.
There's one.
Got him?
Yep. Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise. Smallmouth surprise.
Oh, man. I'm
Right
looking
here.
at yours and look at this baby.
Nice.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Look at
I
that.
got
Look
the
at this.
little one.
This
You got
is
the-
another,
you got the
another
King
one
Kong.
of these giants, baby.
Yeah.
I'm kind of pulling back off of here, Dan.
Yep.
I'm pulling this fish with me a little bit. I don't want
That's
to
fine.
get some more on there.
Yeah,
Boy,
we gotta-
this was a big one. I'm sitting looking at him catch his little dink, and all of a sudden, I looked away from my bait, and the rod just slams. And look at the size of this mogator. Oh, come here. Man, oh boy, see, you can't even get, they're so tough.
Yeah.
You're so tough. They don't like it when you put a lip lock on
Boy,
them, I'll
that's a
tell you
nice
that.
one.
Look at the
They
size.
are
I mean,
heavy,
the
too.
fish up here are absolutely incredible. Everything that we heard about Marmion for big smallmouth like this and good numbers of fish, it's come true. For day one, on a new lake that we're learning the water on, running and gunning, beating water really, really fast with moving baits and catching smallmouth bass this big this big. Hey, if you're planning a trip up north sometime and you live way down south in the middle of summer and you're sitting in that 100-degree stuff every day and the fishing really stinks down by you, pack your bags, head up to Northwest Ontario and take advantage of these smallmouth bass on many of these big Smallie lakes all over Northwest Ontario. It be a fishing experience that you'll never forget. There really is no place like this.